He was booed, he was insulted, he had things thrown at him, all because of the colour of his skin. But Viv Anderson never let that stop him from becoming a football legend. Today's video is unlike any other. Today, we will finally hear Anderson's cry for help and answer it. Born in Clifton, Nottingham, Anderson's parents, Audley and Myrtle, came over from Jamaica, Audley in 1954 and Myrtle in 1955. Imagine moving to a new country and raising a family amidst all the racial tension of the time. But Viv says his childhood was mostly free from discrimination, thanks to his parents' efforts to protect him from the harsh realities around them. At school, he managed to pass 3 CSEs and then worked as a silkscreen printer for a bit. He jokes that he was basically a glorified tea boy, getting tea and sandwiches for everyone. Things took a turn for the better in 1974 when he broke into the Nottingham Forest team. The real game changer was when Brian Clough became the manager in 1975. With Clough's guidance, Forest won promotion to the First Division in 1977 and then took home the title and the League Cup the next year. Talk about a turnaround. But it wasn't all smooth sailing. Viv was one of the first black players in top English clubs and faced a lot of racial abuse. Despite this, he persevered and made his debut for England in November 1978, becoming the second non-white player to represent the men's senior England team. Coach Ron Greenwood insisted that Viv's selection was purely based on his stellar performance. Viv Anderson really paved the way in English football when he became the first black player to represent England's senior team back in 1978. His debut game was on November 29th against Czechoslovakia, and while it was a big deal in terms of progress, it also opened him up to a lot of ugly racism. Imagine playing your heart out on the field and hearing racial slurs or seeing bananas thrown your way. It was a tough reality Viv had to face during his days at clubs like Nottingham Forest, Arsenal and Manchester United. Despite that, he kept proving himself. By the early 80s, Forest's form started to dip, and Viv's appearances for England became less frequent. But in 1984, he got a fresh start with Arsenal, moving for £250,000. This move reignited his career. He won several more caps for England and scored his first international goal against Turkey. Yet, the competition remained tough, especially with younger players like Gary Stevens coming up. Arsenal's fortunes turned around during Viv's time there. They won the 1987 League Cup, and Viv played a crucial role, even scoring against Tottenham in the semi-finals. But at the end of the 1987 season, instead of renewing his contract, Viv decided to join Manchester United, the very club that had let him go as a teenager. How's that for a full-circle moment? But even with all these achievements, he was never treated well. I came across this article from October 2015 in Mancunian Matters, where Viv opened up about those times. He talked about the changes he's seen since his playing days and, unfortunately, how slow progress has been when it comes to kicking racism out of football. The interview gives us a real sense of how deep these issues go and how they've evolved, or in some cases not, over the years. Fast forward to a more recent chat Viv had in February 2021, mentioned in an interview with The Mirror, where he shared something pretty alarming. He feels racism in football might actually be worse now. Considering that reports of racist abuse have spiked, like the 42% increase in discriminatory actions reported by Kick It Out for the 2019-2020 season, it's hard not to take his word for it. Then there's this touching interview on YouTube from October 2020. Viv talks about how back in the day, he often felt alone and without a voice amidst all the racial abuse. It's a powerful reminder of the personal impact of these experiences, beyond just the headlines and stats. Coming back to his career life, in 1993, Viv transitioned to a player-manager role at Barnsley. It was a tough first season, but he avoided relegation. Soon after, he joined Middlesbrough as assistant manager under Brian Robson. Even after officially retiring in 1994, he played a couple of games during an injury crisis, helping Middlesbrough get promoted to the Premier League. Viv's journey didn't stop there. He helped Robson build a team that reached the domestic cup finals, though they faced setbacks like relegation due to a point deduction. Eventually, Viv and Robson left Middlesbrough in 2001 after many ups and downs. Since wrapping up his football career, Anderson hasn't taken up another football-related job after he left his assistant manager position at Middlesbrough, but he still kept himself busy and connected to the sport in other ways. Back in 2000, he was awarded an MBE for his contributions to football, which is a pretty big deal. 4 years later, in 2004, he was also inducted into the English Football Hall of Fame to honour his significant impact on the game. Since 2005, Anderson has been running a sports travel agency and also working as a goodwill ambassador for the Football Association, so he's definitely not left the football world entirely, but he doesn't want to return fully because of all the racism he had to face. But still, he pops up now and then as a guest pundit on MUTV, which is Manchester United's official TV station. That's always cool, to get insights from someone who's been on the inside. Oh, and if you're ever in Manchester, you might want to check out the People's History Museum. They have one of Anderson's shirts on display. It's the one he wore in his debut match against Czechoslovakia back in 1978. It's not just any shirt, it's a piece of football history. You know, at last, all we can do is sympathise with him and send our wishes to this amazing player. Hearing directly from someone like Viv Anderson through these interviews and articles really highlights the ongoing struggle against racism in football. His story isn't just about the past, it's a reminder that we still have a long way to go. His candid reflections push us to keep talking about these issues and work towards a truly inclusive environment in sports. It's clear from his experiences that while we've made some strides, there's still plenty of work to do. All in all, Viv Anderson was known for being a really solid defender with great skills on the field. He played as a right-back and he was super good at reading the game, which means he could stop opponents' plays and start attacks for his team. Viv was fast and strong, making him a key player in defence and also really useful in attacking. He was especially good at running up the side of the field and sending crosses into the box, helping to set up goals. Despite facing a lot of racism and tough times because of his skin colour, Viv didn't let that hold him back. He kept playing brilliantly and became a trailblazer for other black footballers. He even got recognised big time with an MBE and got inducted into the English Football Hall of Fame, which shows just how much he did for the sport. Wrapping up, Viv Anderson's story is more than just about his football skills. It's a story of fighting against racism and making a space for future generations in the sport. Even though we've made some progress, his experiences remind us that there's still a lot more to do to make sports truly inclusive. Viv's story isn't just history. It's a call to keep pushing for change and to keep the conversation about racism in sports going. And if you liked hearing about Viv Anderson's inspiring story and want to keep the conversation going, don't forget to hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and click the bell icon so you won't miss any of our upcoming videos. Let's continue to support and promote equality in sports together.